Hey everybody, it's Thursday, so let's do a show. How you doing? I'm Peter Brown, as always, and it's just you, me, and a guest. And so jump into the chat room. I see that Judge Dredd the Law is already in here, so thanks for that. Jump in, get active in the chat, and if you want to throw in a question, get it going, and we'll bring that to the show, throw that up on the screen, and we'll cover that as well. But I hope everybody's doing well, and as you're stuck at home, we can take this opportunity to talk a little soccer. And since we can't really, see much of it, we'll use this as our outlet. So thanks so much for joining us. But before we get started, before we talk to our awesome guest, gotta remind you, go to caneswear.com. Caneswear.com is where you can get all your Inter Miami gear. They got a great selection. Use the promo code FMTV25 to get 25% off. And any orders over $99, they're going to ship it to you for free. So you can't beat that. And it's easy to spend $99. I mean, they got so much great Inter Miami gear. So, you can definitely spend $99 really, really quick. So they're a great sponsor, and if you want to help support the show, go help us, our sponsors, help a local business in this time. So do it. And as you guys start coming into the chat room, we'll start welcoming you in. But at this point, want to talk about who we've got lined up for the show tonight. So, Inter Miami just announced recently that the Spanish language show, local broadcast, will be on Univision. And so we thought, what better place to talk about the Spanish broadcast but on the Gringo show? So, so obviously I don't speak Spanish, but a lot of you guys do. And so we're going to bring on right now Nico Cantor, who is going to be part of the Univision broadcast. Thanks for joining us, Nico. How you doing?
Peter, how are you? I see the ATST in the background, and just 3 days away from May the 4th.
Yeah.
I must say, May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and one of our loyal viewers is I also have a Rebel sticker on the back of my laptop, and you can, depending on where I sit in this broadcast, on Sunday night show I sit in a different spot, you could see the sticker, and he's always giving me a hard time about being the Rebel spy. So yeah, big Star Wars fan. And what did you do on May to celebrate May 4th?
I tried to convince my girlfriend, my sister, and my mom to watch Empire Strikes Back, and I could not convince them to do it. So I think we put a halt on that. We're going to move it to Friday. So hopefully tomorrow we get a nice little episode 5 in there.
All right, that's good. Yeah, I'm dying. I have Disney Plus, so I'm dying to watch Rise of Skywalker again. I've been holding off because, my daughter wants to watch it with me and schedule hasn't permitted. So, yeah, I was catching up on that final season of Clone Wars. I'm not the biggest prequel guy, but watched Clone Wars. I think I watched the whole final season on May 4th. So, good. So
pretty good.
How are you holding up during this pandemic without any soccer to watch? I mean, it's a bit tough for us soccer fans.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Luckily at work we've been doing a lot of old games. So I've had to study up and research and watch a lot of highlights from way before my time. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I had to rebroadcast the 1996 Euro Cup final because at Univision we have rights to that. It has rights to all European football. And I did it with Hristo Stoichkov, who works with us, Barcelona legend, Bulgarian legend. And he played that Euro Cup 1996. I was 3 years old, and all of this was pre my time, so I had to do a lot of investigating with older journalists, had to ask my dad, had to ask a bunch of other colleagues that almost sort of remember that Euro 96 World Cup. So that's what's been keeping me busy. I've been reading a lot. I'm not that great at watching, binging shows, as unlike a lot of people nowadays are really good at that. I don't have the patience to sit down 4 or 5 hours in front of TV. So I've been reading a lot, but catching up on old soccer, and I don't know. I really don't know how it's already been 2.5, 3 months almost with no soccer.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But you mentioned trying to catch up and learn about some of these old games when you were so young. I mean, we didn't mention in the intro, but father is the legendary broadcaster Andres Cantor. That's not a bad place to go and as your Google. Just ask dad.
Yeah, it's fun. It's super fun, and having my dad around to just kind of pick his brain, it's awesome. Not only my dad, but at work as well. I'm with greats such as Luis Omar Tapia, who's going to be on the rotation. We'll get into that in a little while, of the Unimas local broadcaster Inter Miami. But yeah, it's awesome. We have a great relationship. We work out every day, and it's been pretty fun. And it's fun that he works for one network, I work for another network. We kind of compete but live under the same roof, and it's a fun thing. It really is, to learn from the best and to just have them so easily accessible. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah, when your father is such a famous broadcaster, it's almost like you didn't have a choice but to get into the soccer business.
Right. He says that he never influenced me. No, that's not right. That's not correct. He says that he never forced me to do anything. But I kind of almost didn't have a choice. I would go to work with him when I was like, 9, 10, 11, 12. I would go. I was surrounded by broadcasts constantly and by soccer constantly. And it just kind of became a natural thing. It's funny because I have other passions, but soccer is the one that protrudes the most. So it was almost like a natural transition from like when I was in college, when I was in high school. I always knew what I wanted to do. And right after college, I started working with my dad, and then I got the job at Univision, and I've been working at Univision ever since. And it's been like 3.5 years already. So I've been grateful for that. Univision has opened so many doors for me. They've allowed me to really find myself as a broadcaster, and I'm still finding myself as a broadcaster. It's the beginning stages of my career, but it's great fun, and I really enjoy my time at Univision. I couldn't ask for a better place to be.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. You said you've done a lot in a short time. You're still very young. Your career is really just getting started, but you've covered some World Cups. You've covered a bunch of Gold Cups. I mean, you've done a lot in a really short period of time.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks to my dad. He's trusted me to have this type of responsibility at such a young age. He taught me well. Slowly, as I started working with my dad, I remember I would go with his radio company to cover all these different types of tournaments, starting with Gold Cups. And I would be like in the mix zone with my iPhone, recording interviews and then sending them through email to Backstage Station Miami. Like, if you go on my iPhone all the way, like deep in the voice notes, you'll find like 2009 Gold Cup interviews that I was doing at like 15, 16 years old. So I don't know. It's been growing ever since, every summer, until I finally was old enough, had enough experience to broadcast the World Cup, to broadcast the Copa America. And that also really opened up the gate for me to kind of have all this different experiences under my belt. And with that experience, I made the jump over to the N, and which was formerly Univision Sports, and they've also trusted me with doing a bunch of stuff. I've done radio, calling Champions League games on radio, which is my favorite thing to do. Radio broadcast in Spanish is the best. So I do radio, MLS, SAP in English, TV, YouTube, Facebook. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, and thank you for that SAP stuff, because I don't speak Spanish, so I really need that SAP stuff. But you mentioned radio is your favorite. Why Spanish radio in particular? What it makes radio such a great medium?
It's because I grew up on it, especially Latin American radio. I can talk about the nuances of Spanish language radio, Latin American sports radio for hours. I'm not going to bore you guys too much with the details, but the fun thing about it is that at the same time, you need to be poetic. You need to be descriptive. It's a whole different school of broadcast that I was brought up on. My dad, I think, taught me really well. He kind of brought that from Argentina into the United States, created his company, Futbol de Primera. And I learned to broadcast as a radio broadcaster first before I moved into TV. And that really gave me a lot of confidence to kind of move into TV, because what you do on radio is not what you do on TV. On TV, you have the picture that says a lot within itself, just having what you see. In radio, you don't have that. So you need to describe to the audience what you're watching. And it's not easy. And I'm still learning and I'm still becoming better at it. But I've been doing Champions League since we picked up the rights on radio. And that is so much fun because the rhythm of those games is so quickly. And you need to be up to the speed of the ball. And there's no better way to polish your craft when you're broadcasting the best players in the world. And it's been really fun. And actually, I'm going to be calling a lot of Inter Miami games for the local channel for 11:40 a.m. here in Miami. So that's going to be great to do.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about that in a minute. We do have a question here from Judge Dredd, so let's put that up on the oops, I brought up the wrong one. Here we go. Judge Dredd wants to know, question for Nico, what do you think they will do to the leagues that canceled halfway in, like the Premier League? Do you think they will award titles to the table leaders or just restart next season?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. And every league is doing what they can and what they should be doing, but only within the confines of what their government says is okay. We see that the Bundesliga is coming back. We see that Holland, for example, outright canceled their season. No champion, no pro rel. It's wild times. So I'm not anybody that can tell you what's going to happen. But
just opinions.
The Premier League does seem very adamant about finishing this season, or at least from what we've heard and what we've read. And it would be wild to think that Liverpool will not be Premier League champion because of a damn coronavirus. So I think somehow they're going to want to finish it off. And if anything, given the situation that they're like, 25 points in front, 20 points, something ridiculous. Right. If anything, I think the proper thing to do is to give Liverpool the title.
Right. All right, so let's switch over to Inter Miami, and Eric Thomas has a question that'll take us right there. What was it like when you found out that you were going to be one of the announcers selected to cover Inter Miami, and did you follow the buildup of Inter Miami prior to getting the announcer gig?
Yeah, so Inter Miami, because we had MLS at Univision, it was always a constant thing. This is going to be our team in our backyard. Finally, an MLS team that we're going to be close to, that we're going to have access to. And then when I started hearing about Univision calling the local games, it was just so exciting. Being close to Inter Miami, this close to Inter Miami, it's such a privilege. It's such an honor to kind of rekindle that relationship with local soccer. As we talked about, Peter, before we hit this live broadcast, I worked at Fort Lauderdale Strikers. My first gig ever in broadcasting was broadcasting for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. My dad used to take me to Lockhart when I was a baby to see the Fusion play.
That's a good dad right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in my blood, especially since I'm born and raised in Miami. I'm a proud citizen of the city. this is my home. The reason I act the way I talk the way I talk, it's because I'm from Miami. So I'm just so proud. I'm honestly excited. It's a shame that we had to stop this whole. We were on a roll. And then we just had to just absolutely stop it. And it was a shame. I was in the broadcast booth the Thursday before the first Inter Miami game against LA Galaxy. And I took a picture. I put it up on Instagram. I was getting all emotional. It was awesome. And the coronavirus just wiped everything off the board. So we'll see where we get back at it again. But when the dust settles, I'm going to be very proud to be one of the broadcasters for Inter Miami.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. It's quite a big lineup of broadcasters that are going to be covering. There's a lot of names there. I'm sure they're very well known to a lot of Univision viewers. But I'm not one of those because I don't speak Spanish. Although, I'll be honest, I will watch the Univision games just because the Spanish broadcasters, whether you understand the language or not, are a heck of a lot more entertaining to listen to. The enthusiasm, the excitement. So let's talk a little bit about the team that you're going to be working with and where you fit into this team.
Yeah, so we have a handful of guys that I respect a lot that do great work. Starting from the heavy hitters, Luis Omar Tapia, who has a incredible broadcasting career, has covered World Cups. He's called every Champions League final for like the last 25 years or something ridiculous like that. His co-commentator, usually that's the team, Luis Omar Tapia and Diego Balado. And I think him along with Tony Kerki, who is a commentator but also a host. Because we don't have a set broadcast yet, I don't know what the specific exact roles are going to be, but judging from the characteristics of what everybody brings to the table, I imagine it's going to be something like this. Ramses Sandoval, Ramses, Dani Nora, going to be play-by-play. I'm going to be play-by-play,
Nice.
but I'm also the kind of the beat reporter for Inter Miami. I've been covering since we've had the opportunity to have access, even before training sessions began. I remember when we would do like sponsorship events, they've been sending me. So I've been covering Inter Miami for the past 6 months now. And I've been driving up to Fort Lauderdale, that morning drive, that hour drive. It's fun.
It's
While
not that
you're
bad.
going there, it's not fun, but once you get there, it's fun.
It's not that bad of a drive.
It's not that bad of a drive.
Come on.
In the morning on a weekday, it's good. It's worse than what it's going to be on a Saturday for a match day.
Yeah.
But the facilities are incredible. The stadium is really great considering that it's a temporary stadium, but Paul McDonough has done an extraordinary job. I haven't been to the Atlanta facilities, a training complex for Atlanta United, but I hear that is top of the line. And what he's done at Inter Miami, he literally chose the finishes in the locker room bathroom.
Yeah.
That's how much he's done for this complex, and it's world class.
Have you had a chance to walk through it and get any kind of a tour?
So I did walk through it before it was done.
Me too.
That was
Me too.
2.5 months ago. I imagine it looks incredible now. It looked incredible, or at least the idea of walking through it, seeing the pool with the treadmill inside, seeing the workout facilities, how it opens up into the field, the huge Inter Miami logo, the glass windows looking over the training complex where the players are going to have lunch. It was amazing. It looked incredible. The thought processes going through that to finally get that together. It must feel like a real accomplishment for Inter Miami, and hats off to them because it's been an incredible job.
All right, so you're going to be covering the team. You've had time to study, like you said. You've been studying all kinds of games. What are your thoughts so far on the team that Paul McDonough put together? We lost our first 2 games. Understandable. I mean, new team. But what do you think of this squad and what they've put together and the team you're going to be covering?
Yeah, I think the first 2 games, Inter Miami got way too little for what they deserved. In that DC United game, it was incredible how Inter Miami lost that game. And I think those are the growing pains of having a new club, a new franchise that's getting to know itself. I think Paul McDonough has done a very decent job of putting a team in its first season. Who knows how Inter Miami will look like in its second and third season compared to what they look like now.
Right.
Maybe some of the pieces that we are seeing are like, okay, what's the best we can do within the league to fill this spot, to fill these gaps, is what I think the direction of the club went, or at least was like. But I am getting the feeling that this is not just a project for success now. I think the narrative is different. Diego Alonso obviously wants to win now. He's the coach. If he doesn't have any short-term goals, I don't think you'd be the right coach for anybody. You want to win wherever you are.
Right.
But I think the bigger picture is 2, 3, even 4 seasons down the line. And Jorge Mas has been very clear about that. And I think we can expect some heavier hitters for Inter Miami, but I do like what Paul McDonough did at Atlanta, and he's slowly trying to do something very similar. And I think it really revolutionized the league. Brought in a Latin American coach, brought in young Latin American talent, and Atlanta United took the league by storm. And I think we see a little bit of that in players like Carranza, Pellegrini, Pizarro. Agustin Almendra was supposed to arrive from Boca Juniors in Argentina, but because of the coronavirus, who knows? At one point, it seemed like it was imminent.
Sounded like it was a done deal, yeah.
Said that it was happening. He literally said that it was happening. And I had information that it was basically Boca just had to sign off on the player, but who knows what the deal is with that now. I mean, it's complicated. It clearly goes beyond sports, beyond anybody's control. But I expect Inter Miami to follow that line. Young talent, aggressive talent, Latin American talent that is still willing, or not even willing, that still needs to prove themselves. Because you bring a player like Matias Pellegrini and like Juli Carranza, they are so young that it's not like they've won championships upon championships in Argentina and they're club legends arriving at Inter Miami. No, these kids are hungry. They want to score goals. They want to prove that they're the winners. And who knows, this might even be their window to make that jump to Europe, or make that jump and be behind the shopping window for the Argentine national team.
All right. Well, Judge, speaking, you mentioned something about some big name players we expect. Judge Dredd wants to know, if you could sign any player right now, who would you like to see and in what position?
That's a good question. If I was Paul McDonough. So now we're playing Football Manager.
Yeah, you got the keys. You got the checkbook.
Wow. I would probably sign. This is my thing. I actually just started playing Football Manager, and I picked an MLS team. I like good center backs. I don't think throughout the history of MLS there have been top quality center backs that really make that difference. And in a league where the defense has sometimes been questionable, a lot of times has been questionable, because throughout the league, it's the players on the attack on every single team that sell the tickets, that score the goals, that supposedly win championships. when MLS decides to bring in I'm talking about a world-class defender, I think things can really change. So I don't know who it would be, and I have to think about it, but I would bring maybe a very sturdy defender from Argentina. Figal kind of has those characteristics. I think some people have liked him in the first 2 games.
Yeah,
He's
I do.
very good with his feet. He's
Yeah.
very technical for a center back. Perhaps he can be a little bit too risky, and I think we saw that in the DC United game. He was great against LAFC, but I was on the sidelines, and Diego Alonso didn't like it too much. That occasionally he lost the ball a little bit, but he is a type of player that I think can revolutionize the league in the back on a back line. So I don't know, perhaps a partner considering Roman Torres' age and thinking about the future. I think solid center back partnerships are what really win championships.
Interesting. Because most of us want the attacking player, and you went defense. So that's interesting. Before we end this, because we're trying to cap these midweek shows around 30 minutes and let you get back to your whatever. Nothing really, because you can't leave the house. But but Eric wanted to know, because before we get back, once the season starts, it looks like more than likely we're going to start seeing you guys are going to be broadcasting games in empty stadiums. So Eric Thomas wanted to know what you think about potentially broadcasting games with no fans. What's that going to feel like?
So I did do a Champions League game, but off of a monitor with no fans. And sometimes it's tough to convey that emotion. But I think regardless if there's fans or not, being at the stadium for that first game, whatever it's going to be, I promise that we will bring our A game no matter what. It is tough. It's tough for a broadcaster. It's tough for players, perhaps.
Yeah, it's got to be tough for the players.
It's you need to...
You feed off that energy.
Yeah, put that away. It's playing with fans is so key. I wonder how the home field advantage... I would love to, at the end of the season, or at least get this handful of games and use it as a sample size to compare how much the home field advantage really relies on the fans. That's going to be an interesting thing to examine. But what I think is going to be great is that we're going to hear a lot of what's going on. And you usually don't get to hear anything. Perhaps when there's like a mic close to the field, wherever those ambient mics are, you usually get like a word or two. But like now, you'll be able to hear everything. Recently,
we talked to Jim Rooney, former Miami Fusion captain, and we told him about that. We said, look, they're more than likely going to broadcast into empty stadiums. The field's still going to be mic'd so you can hear the balls getting kicked and all that kind of stuff. And his reaction was, oh, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot mic the field without any fans because you're not going to like what you hear. He had even said, he's not so proud of some of the things he has said in the past, as a player.
But that's part of it. That's part of a folklore about soccer. And that's, I think, something that the fans and even the broadcasters don't get to hear as much. When this all started happening and I had to call out a lot of Europa League games, I literally said on the air, guys, I'm going to be quiet for certain moments because I want to hear what's going on the field. It's that romantic quality about soccer that we all want to be soccer players. I mean, we at one point in our lives aspired to be on the field there and just hearing everything that's going on, hearing these players cuss each other out, tactically speak to each other, pump each other up, all those things that you never get to hear. It's amazing that we're going to be able to get to hear that. And it's one of the things, I guess it's one of the silver linings that you get from playing in an empty stadium.
But can you get away with that on a network like Univision? The cursing that's going to happen?
Well, the players aren't Univision talent, and
No.
it is a live broadcast,
Yeah.
so they can say whatever they want, I guess.
You got to protect that license, though. You know, do you? Is there? I don't know. Does the channel get in trouble for what happens on the field?
I don't think so.
No.
I think that's the thing that soccer. It is how it is, and anybody tuning into the game, I think, knows what they're getting into. I don't think it's anything so wildly inappropriate that it shouldn't be on a TV or on a sports broadcast. I think everybody has an idea and knows what's going on, but I think the bad words is just the issue that they'll get some. It's inevitable all over the MLS on every single broadcast. You'll get an insult here, a cuss here, and it'll float in and out of the broadcast. And it's part of the folklore about soccer. And there's I don't think there's anything you can do about it. But there's so much more than that. There's tactics.
Oh yeah,
there's players pumping each other up. There's so much more to the banter that goes onto the field that I don't think it'll be an issue.
Well, Jim Rooney was telling us, it was kind of funny that he was saying, obviously there's things that were said on the field that he wasn't proud of, right? That he's a father and things that he shouldn't say, right? That he's not proud of. But he said also, the interesting thing is that some of these guys you're playing against, you're friends with. And so when it's not maybe an active moment, they're asking each other like, hey, what are you doing for dinner? What's going on after the game? I mean, that's kind of the stuff he says is actually going on the field that we as fans would be surprised about. But I think that is a silver lining about watching a game in an empty stadium right there. That alone is going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. These players know each other.
Yeah.
I maybe the conversations that are said like under the mouths, like when they're covering their mouths and they're talking to each other one-on-one, you won't pick that up. But for people that don't know too much about soccer broadcasts, there's ambient mics on
everywhere.
The half loop line, on the corner kicks, behind the goals. So that's like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mics on the field. Plus the cameras have mics. So who knows what you can pick up close to those end lines. And I think that's just going to be wonderful to hear. I'm really going to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for the season to finally get going. Luckily, the players are now started to do some actual training, so that's great. Maybe we could start seeing some games near the end of June or something like that, and really look forward to seeing what you guys do with the Univision broadcast. I will definitely tune in and listen to that passionate Spanish broadcast, and I know a lot of our viewers are bilingual, so they'll pick. And you've got a great choice as Inter Miami fans. You listen to the English broadcast and hear Ray Hudson, right? Or you flip over to Univision and hear you guys. I mean, as fans, we win. So that's great. Look forward to hearing and seeing what you guys do, and what you in particular, Nico, to bring to the table. Hey, before we let you go, tell everybody how they can follow you on social media, on Twitter. I'm sure you're fairly active. How can people follow you?
Yeah, so at Nico Cantor 1 on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I should be doing more Facebook, but I don't do that much Facebook. Instagram and Twitter is where I'm really at. So just feel free to shout out. DMs are open. Love talking to all new followers. And it's a great time to be alive. And I'm very proud to be covering Inter Miami in its inaugural season.
All right. We're glad to have you. And we just can't wait for the season to kick off. Thanks so much for spending your Thursday evening with us, Nico. And have a good night. And let's hope the season starts soon.
Yeah, great, Peter. Thank you very much.
All right, see you later. That was Nico Cantor joining us on the old Skype machine that we just exited out of. And thanks so much for you guys for joining in and live with us here on a Thursday night. If we didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. But a lot of you guys were active. There's not the largest chat room on a Thursday this evening, but great activity, and we really appreciate it. And I mentioned before, make sure to go to Caneswear, go to caneswear.com and use promo code FMTV25 for that 25% discount. Orders over $99, ship for free. So you can't beat that. You don't even have to go to the store. I think Nico's great. And, Nico and I were talking a little bit before the broadcast started that, he was on our old Ultras Alive show back when he was still in high school, really. And, so, we've seen him grow up and now as a active broadcaster on Univision. It's great to see his career grow and be with Inter Miami now. So good stuff. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. And make sure to tune in on Sunday. Ed will be back, and we'll do this again on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Not sure what we've got in store for Sunday, but I'm sure it'll be good. And tell your friends, and let's grow this thing. And so thanks so much for watching. See you next week. And here we go.